Testing 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we got the correct push to talk button. So let's start with the RWG mixer, and y'all need to give proper or give props to Laz for exploring this hub layout thing. This may be a way to get those large prefabs to spawn without all the errors that usually come with the larger prefabs. Okay, so first let's look at rule sets. Alright, within your rule sets you can have as many rule sets as you want. There's a rule set named vanilla, that's what most of you use. And you make modifications on down. And then there's another rule set here that I have called CCCP. Now I left it as CCCP because of what Sumatra did with his post. So I kind of used all of that to pay homage to what he did and not try and pass it off as my original idea. Okay. So within this world rule set says CCCP, so it means it's using this rule set, CCCP. Alright, if that says vanilla, it uses that rule set. So let's come down here, and we have our prison hub, right? CCCP underscore cell underscore prison hub at position 0, 1 with a probability of 1. That means it's going to be unique to that position. That's what that means. Now, as Laz has mentioned, no probability also makes it unique to that position. I don't know for sure. I know hundreds of seeds I have tested, and this becomes unique with probability of 1. Now, if this is somehow an oversight on their part and they get around to changing it, then you'd be better off with no probability if in fact it makes it unique. It might. I don't know. I don't have hundreds of tests, or I think 3 or 4 builds now on our server. I've watched players uncover the entire map, so I know this works. Okay. Oh, and also, if you have a probability between 0.1 and 0.9, as we've discussed, like you have up here, that means it has a chance to spawn somewhere else in the world. Okay, so there's our cell. So let's go into the game. I created one called The Walking Dead Errors. And we're going to be looking at region 0, 1. Which that should be north of 0, 0, right? Where are we at? We're south. What's going on? Something's going on, right? I got some errors going on. Alright, we got some kind of errors trying this, so let's take a look at our output log.txt. And we're scrolling down here. It created the world, and look, exception error at world block ticker, active chunks. So we had some exception. Alright, I'm not sure what it is. Oh, that was the last. Okay, here we go. Error exception in the thread generate chunks. Exception, the given key was not present in the dictionary. What exactly does that mean? Now, when you initially get an error like these, right, or the key not found, which is essentially what this is, the given key is not present. That is usually because your cell name, see that cell rule, name equals this. You have to make sure that the cell rule name within the rule set up here matches the actual cell rule. So let's scroll down. And notice it doesn't match. It says prison hub, that's it. It should say this. CCCP underscore cell underscore prison hub. Now the cell rules match. So let's try it again. I can remember where 7 days to die was. Now I always close my output log.txt so I can see the new errors it generates or whatever happens. So that should get rid of the key exception errors or whatever. And we're still south, you notice? It wouldn't let us go north because of that. We were trying to enter a cell that didn't really exist because the cell rules didn't match. Whoop. Error, exception in thread, generate chunks, null reference exception. Okay, so now it's not a key not found or a key reference error. Now it's the null reference. Well, when you get the null reference, that's because, let's get to it. Let's take a look. Now that error usually becomes, within the cell rule, you have a hub rule, name equals prison hub. So let's find that hub rule. Hub rule, name equals prison hub. So those match. But the problem is you have to have a prefab rule within it. Now we have a prefab rule of none. All right, so when you look at your output log.txt, I already know what the error means. All of this 3D device lost means I'm alt-tabbed. Where is it? Oh, right here. Null reference exception, right? At hub layout, at hub cell gen. That's how I know it's in the hub. Hub, right? But that's what it means. You got issues generating because you don't have a prefab rule. You have to have a prefab rule. That's where I was wrong on the initial replies on that thread. I recommend a prefab rule of none. Why? Here's something else you have to have. The hub layout. This is where people were making mistakes. You don't need a width and a height because within the hub layout, which is usually at the bottom, you can see where last sort of copied and pasted, which is a good way for all of you modders to start. You copy and paste what the developers have done, but you need to understand what it is you're doing, or else you can have errors. You notice he's got the start points and end points here. So what he's doing pretty much is dictating the dimensions with starting points and end points, okay? And his lot entry here, right? The lot's basically what prefab is going to be in the middle. And the township type equals town. That's where you're going to look at the whatever the prefab.xml is to see what the allowed townships are. Let's go back up. Where's my prefab rule of none? Right here. Prefab rule name equals none. That means no prefab is going to spawn in there, which is fine by me because I've already got it down here as spawning within the hub layout. I don't know if selecting another prefab rule makes errors, but it seems to me a bit ridiculous to tell it to spawn a prefab group or a prefab in there when you've already got the prison and all you want is the prison. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if it matters, but the bottom line is you have to have a prefab rule, and I recommend using none if all you want is the prison. Okay, so now that we have the prefab rule in, let's go see what happens. Again, you get that like an error related to the key. Check your cell rules, make sure they match. If you get the null reference, check your hub rules and your prefab rules, okay? I bet you we get in this time. We are in. And we're north, not south this time. So let's find the prison around here. And here we are. And let's take a look. Looks like I have a seamless road over there. The gravel road goes right to it. Over there it looks seamless. I think Laz had mentioned in one of his posts that he managed to get 3 roads going out of it. I mean, you could put a dumpster here, make it work like a dead end. I mean, this is perfectly fine. You know, you could put, even in the prefab, you could put a few signs in there, like turn around or something, I don't know. And there's the 3rd road going out. No errors. And we're all good. And that's how you do it. Okay, you just got to make sure your rules line up. Make sure you have a prefab rule. Make sure you reference the hub layout. And it should be fine. Again, I prefer of giving it a position 1 or a probability of 1. I don't know if that's what it takes, but maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. So if you have any more questions with this, let me know. I'm going to be experimenting and add all sorts of different hub layouts for like schools and hospitals and football stadiums, because I have issues getting those to generate in without, or just with putting positions on them. And that's all I've got to say about that.